And let's then check what we actually can do. So, arrange a meeting with the wise woman. That was for Skink and Tree's Shade in Zareth Mora. Learn how to command a humanoid. That was to get the guy out of the way. Yes, you would have mastered. That's just because I don't have any entry for him yet. We could do the pilgrimage to Mount Kund, actually. Either that, or we check for more quests here in Ald'Ruhn. Since we're here already, I'm going to do the check for quests in Ald'Ruhn. Of course, this only shows check for quests for any entry, which is not very helpful, but I'm going to do this. This is what we're going to do now. So we're going to search Ald'Ruhn for more quests. I don't think that anyone here in the Mages Guild, it's usually just one person in each Mages Guild that has quests for me. But there might be traders or something like that who actually have some.
Go ahead, stranger.
Oh, talking about that, I think that's the, no, it's not the, that's the potion maker. So let's see, I can sell the flint. I'm not into alcohol. Fortify personality. That's also interesting, but we do have a spell for that now. Cure blight disease, we have a spell for that. We have an app for that. Night Eye is inherently on our character. And then we're at restore fatigue, fatigue. Lots of restore fatigue, that's a lot. And I think it is, yeah, these are getting weaker. So I'm going to sell from here. 22 points. I know that this is like these, we can keep these. Okay, and now of course we have offered way too much. You know what? I'm going to... Oh, I need to tell them that I don't want all the money. Yes, I'm actually going to give you a little discount. Thank you very much.
Well, what have we here?
Oh, there is. I know that we have these Dwemer books that we were about to check to get. Let me see if I can actually find those. Random people. They are fantastic books. It's a Dwemer law. Yes. That one was a book that we still don't have. Oh, she asks us to ask Edwina. Well, Edwina likes us very much. So, do you maybe know where that book is? I know, I purchased my own copy from Codas Colonus here in town. I think someone else asked for a copy. Some local servant of her house, Redorn. Well, I don't care about House Redorn, to be honest.
What should we talk about?
So that is something, that is an interesting information. Because that means that, first of all, I need to leave the window open to know the names.
Day to night. But what
welcome, friend. The day is yours. What should we talk about?
So again, ask Codas Colonus in Ald'Ruhn for Dwemer law, which is in Ald'Ruhn. And there we go. And then some local servant of House Redorn. They seem to have find servant of House Redorn with Dwemer law book. because maybe we need to get that one. Sorry. This is just me real quick organizing the to-do list. There we go. For some reason these are not shown, but I do know, is this, well, I do know that it is here. Okay, thank you very much. This is actually something I'm going to do right now. So the name was Codus Colonus.
Speak quickly,
I
Commander,
guess
or
he's
go
burnt.
away.
I guess it's a he because it sounds like an imperial. It sounds very Latin. Ooh, now look at this. This looks. Okay, the Mages Guild Charter. This looks like made of marble on the book, or at least very shiny. Very, very nice book covers. And Himla, no, what do you have about the latest rumors? Oh,
Greetings, Wide
of
Walker.
value. Did he say Nightwalker? He said my name, didn't he? He said greetings, Nightwalker, right? Let me get these potions, thank you. Because restoring
All right.
magicka is always a
I'm
nice
listening.
thing. Yeah, but I'm not talking. At least not to you. So this is the Fighter's Guild. I don't want anything with the Fighter's Guild, honestly. Now there's this place, the Rat in the Pot. Let's see. Sounds like a Thieves Guild place, to be honest. Tongue-toed. Not tongue-tied, but tongue-toed. Athletics, alchemy, and the Guide to Ald'Ruhn.
Fresh game.
No, I'm a game. I'm a kitty. There we go. Estorial. You have spells. Let me see. I'm looking for a spell that lets me command humanoids. Poison. Nice. Skeletal minion. Nah. Not my thing. Poison bloom. Distracting touch. Weaknesses. Commanding touch. This sounds perfect. Command humanoid. 5 levels for 10 seconds. Well, it doesn't matter because in the end I just need to know the effect so I can make a spell with it. Thank you very much. This was already very good.
Can we hurry this along?
Real quick. Do the learn command humanoid. Done. Let me see here. Ald'Ruhn. That's German for all things. That's weird. Or all thing, that is. That's weird. He's called all thing. He's got all the things. And he only has a few things. That's disappointing. You should have
What
all
say
the
you?
things. Ah, well. A Nord. I mean, it's not that I'm against Nords or something. An orc. Who doesn't like me?
Say
What do you want?
words.
T-LAN. This is not a W-LAN, it's a T-LAN.
Summoned by another. Questions
Black
again.
Arrow power.
What was that?
And my acrobatics skill increased. I don't know if I'm allowed to take it.
Surrender yourself. Your opponent. Guards!
Last autosave is in here. Damn it. I should quick save more. But I don't need to ask everyone in the Mages Guild anymore. And all that stuff, so.
I can tell.
Up. And there is Estorial. Commanding touch. Thank you. Goodbye.
Can we hurry this along?
There was nobody down there. There is a Khajiit here. Who doesn't want
Khajiit
to talk
has
to
no
me?
time for you.
I'm waiting.
Yeah, I see that. For whom are you waiting? That's the
Quickly,
question.
Outlander. I haven't much
She doesn't
time.
even want to bartend, but barter. Yeah, we do need some probes. Well, maybe not 5, maybe just 1. Thank you. Security, sneak, acrobatic. Security would help with the probes, but we're all out of gold. On the other hand, it does help. So let's see this area here.
Why do you approach?
First save before I anger everyone. This is a different place, right? Yeah, this is a different
If I can help, I will, but don't take too much time.
Oh, I don't want to join the Thieves. They are pretty open about the Thieves Guild. They're directly asking me, hey, do you want to join the Thieves Guild? On the other hand,
Khajiit has no
Khajiit, although technically I'm playing as a different race, but it's the Black Panther race that I had modded into the game, but to me it's just a Black Khajiit.
What assistance do you need?
None. I'm just going to check around if there is someone who needs help. And if I can find this colors something. That was the house of the guy who just talked to me. Gildan. We are looking for the house of Codus Colonus. I have lots of houses already here. So let's see. Torians, Dravaza and Drathes, and let's head over there because there's lots of stuff missing here from the map. So let's take a look here. This is Immeril.
There is someone.
Pelagia Orus'
I
house.
can tell.
Galthrogoth. That must be an elf. Branus Lurvus, and you are Branus Lurvu. That's no quest. Okay. Let's follow this guy, this guard around the temple. And there's actually a road here. Oh, I know. Yeah, there's a road here. What was that sound? You. Annoying creatures. Thank you, sir. I'm not going to rub into his face that I could have done this on my own, but still. He did his job, and we should be thankful for people doing their job. Especially if they are not harassing people, but really doing their jobs as they're supposed to. Weird sounds in the night. They make me a little bit of a scaredy cat. What's that? The Morrowind Manor. Morrowind Manor. This does not sound good. Okay, this door is locked. And Cersei's at the Dunmer. It sounded like someone died, to be honest, and this sounds like a bone walker or something. So let's see. This is a 75 lock. We have 50. So we need to learn spell to unlock level 70. Well, then we also need to have things to learn. Learn spell to unlock level 75. And we have here we have Morrowind Manor. And oh, I already added that one. I already added that one, so I can delete it again. Morrowind Manor. And it is 75, actually. Not 70. Oh, it is 70. Okay. I am apparently an idiot. Well, then, I can do this. Undo all the changes that I just made. Grumble, grumble. Okay, so we already know that there is something in here. It wasn't on the map. Or at least this area wasn't on the map, so I just went around. But I know that over here there are people working, so we can ask them if they have some quests for us. For example, this little, no, she's not little, this nice woman over here. I'm mixing up adjectives right now, that's weird. Does she have a secret? These are just, oh yes, little advice. Well, if you want weapons or arms in Ald'Ruhn, or need weapons or armor repaired, look for Dantera Solaro. She's advertising herself, using her name, that's hilarious. The smith in Ald'Ruhn under Scar. Dantera Solaro serves all comers and has a quality selection. The other three smiths in Ald'Ruhn have faction associations. Yep. Shameless self-plug, using your own name. Weird. On the other hand, you can repair my last wish for me, thank you. Do I have anything to Silder? No. Cancel that, I'm not going to buy. What is Scar, by the way? Oh, that's the shell of the Emperor Crab, Outlander. The homes and shops in the Manor District are under Scar. Okay,
Make
yeah,
it
I
quick,
can
Outlander.
see that. Oh, that's a locked door. And back here. A Clovier. Do you say Clovier or Clovier? Ooh, work. I think that is again the quest. Like, this guy's owing us money, and we already completed that quest. So I'm going to
Walk
real
with
quick
virtue, Outlander.
drop a quick save and see. Yeah, she's just going to thank me for handling the situation with the owed money. So the greeting should have changed. Oh, look, she put her. That's her pajamas, I guess, on the bed. Oh, that's a nice rug. And yeah, and I'm not looking at things again because, as I said, mods with texture replacements. So things look a little bit nicer than they did before. Okay, now let's check first this mod.
Care to trade?
He is a general trader, and he don't want to sell any of these, honestly. I wish I had house. I know that in House Telvanni, I can at some point in time have them build a manor for me. The Wolf Queen. Let's check the other side and then get inside and see the traders. So this is a bookseller. This, I guess, is, yeah, Codas Colonus. Codas Colonus. Hello, good sir.
I
And
suppose
he is
you're looking for a tavern.
So
I'm
I'm looking
sure I
for
can
the
do it.
antecedents of the Dwemer law. Ethus Evus was studying that book in the hopes of passing the Imperial exams and moving to Cyrodiil. Maybe he could make you a copy. Thank you very much. I guess that's that servant of House Redoran. He's the seneschal of Erebor Manor, and it is under Scar, yes. So I'm just going to make a little note in the thing that I'm looking for. Ethus Evos, since I'm editing a node. Ethus Evos, this is not visible for you. Goodbye. So in Undersky, and here we can see it. here we see it's, well, he put them on wrong, like upside down, but it's like the brief history of the Empire, and the Brothers of Darkness, the 5 Songs of King something, Wolfhearth. Okay, so this is pretty nice that these books are mostly upside down, but they have now on their backs the names of the books, which I really love. So every book actually has now its own texture. That was the mod that I installed. Now let's check the Manor District. That's the button I want. Remoran, Sorathi, Alchemist, Lolarthi, Rover. I think it was a Rover. Moratong, and yeah. So we're going to get up.
What, Outlander?
This is really annoying. They just stand in the way. Okay. That's good. The AI actually makes them walk along. And we want to go, I think it's not that one, no, it's that one over here. If I'm not misremembering. And there we're looking for Ethos Evas. Who wants to pass the Imperial exam. I have a copy I will sell you for 300 drakes. Much less than such a book is actually worth. But you don't you don't look like you have 300 drakes to spare. Here actually,
better be important.
I should actually. It's hard to remember doing the voices, to be honest. I don't, but I have enough stuff actually to. It's not that hard to make them. But yes, I found the servant, and what I need to do is get 300 drakes and bring 300 drakes to Evas in where does it say where I am? Arobar Manor. And this one again is in Ald'Ruhn. And there we go. So now we have a quest. I added an entry, as you may see. I added an entry, which is this one, to get 300 drakes. And when I mark this as done, it will show me to bring those to Evas in Arobar Manor. I should actually change it to in Ald'Ruhn. So when I see it in the list, I know where to go to. Okay, so now let's do some more looking around, right?
This better be important.
It's not. This is why I didn't talk to you. So let's head out of town and then through this, or rather out of Scar. So we checked the bookseller, and we did not check this guy here.
What,
Pawnbroker.
Outlander?
A Dance in Fire, Chapter 4, by Wogan Jarth. 18 was merry, and when Cyrodiilic, former senior clerk for an Imperial building commission, trudged through the jungle westward from the Xylo River to the ancient village of Vindisi. For Decumus Scotty, the jungle was hostile, unfamiliar ground. The enormous vermiculated trees filled the bright morning with darkness and resembled nothing so much as grasping claws, bent on impeding their progress. Even the fronds of the low plants quivered with malevolent energy. What was worse, he was not alone in his anxiety. His fellow travelers, the natives who had survived the Khajiit attacks on the villages of Grenos and Athay, were faces of undisguised fear. There was something sentient in the jungle, and not merely the mad but benevolent indigenous spirits. In his peripheral vision, Scotty could see the shadows of the Khajiiti following the refugees, leaping from tree to tree. When he turned to face them, the life forms vanished into the gloom as if they had never been there. But he knew he had seen them, and the Bosmeri saw them too, and quickened their pace. After 18 hours, bitten raw by insects, scratched by 1,000 thorns, they emerged into a valley clearing. It was night, but a row of blazing torches greeted them, illuminating the leather-wrought tents and jumbled stones of the hamlet of Rindisi. At the end of the valley, the torches marked a sacred site, a gnarled bower of trees pressed close together to form a temple. Wordlessly, the Bosmeri walked the torch arcade towards the trees. Scotty followed them. When they reached the solid mass of living wood with only one gaping portal, Scotty could see a dim blue light glowing within. A low, sonorous moan from 100 voices echoed within. The Bosmeri maiden he'd been following held out her hand, stopping him. "You do not understand, but no outsider, not even a friend, may enter," she said. "This is a holy place." Scotty nodded and watched the refugees march into the temple, heads bowed. Their voices joined with the ones within. When the last wood elf had gone inside, Scotty turned his attention back to the village. There must be food to be had somewhere. A tendril of smoke and a faint whiff of roasting venison beyond the torchlight led him. They were 5 Cyrodiils, 2 Bretons, and a Nord. The group gathered around a campfire of glowing white stones, pulling steaming strips of meat from the cadaver of a great stag. At Scotty's approach, they rose up, all but the Nord, who was distracted by a hunk of animal flesh. "Good evening. Sorry to interrupt, but I was wondering if I might have a little something to eat. I'm afraid I'm rather hungry after walking all day with some refugees from Grenos and Athay." They bade him to sit down and eat, and introduced themselves. "So the war's back on, it seems?" said Scotty amiably. "Best thing for these effety do-nothings," replied the Nord in between bites. "I've never seen such a lazy culture. Now they've got the Khajiiti striking them on land and the High Elves at sea. If there's any province that deserves a little distress, it's damnable Valenwood." "I don't see how they're so offensive to you," laughed one of the Bretons. "They're congenital thieves, even worse than the Khajiiti, because they're so blessed meek in their aggression." The Nord spat out a gob of fat which sizzled on the hot stones in the fire. "They spread their forests into territory that doesn't belong to them, slowly infiltrating their neighbors. And they're puzzled when elsewhere shoves back at them. They're all villains of the worst order." "What are you doing here?" asked Scotty. "I'm a diplomat from the court of Gehenna," muttered the Nord, returning to his food. "Well, what about you? What are you doing here?" asked one of the Cyrodiils. "Well, I work for Lord Atreus' building commission in the Imperial City," said Scotty. "One of my former colleagues suggested that I come down to Valenwood. He said the war was over and I could contract a great deal of business for my firm, rebuilding what was lost. One disaster after another, and I've lost all my money. I'm in the middle of a rekindling of war, and I cannot find my former colleague." Your former colleague," murmured another of the Cyrodiils, who'd introduced himself as Reglius. "He wasn't by any chance named Laiodus Jurus, was he?" You know him? He lured me down to Valenwood in nearly exact the same circumstances, smiled Regulus grimly. I worked for your employer's competitor, Lord Vanek's men, where Laertes Juris also formerly worked. He wrote to me asking that I represent an Imperial Building Commission and contract some post-war construction. I had just been released from my employment, and I thought that if I brought some new business, I could have my job back. Juris and I met in Athay, and he said he was going to arrange a very lucrative meeting with the Sylvanar. Scotty was stunned. Where's he now? I'm no theologian, so I couldn't say. Regulus shrugged. He's dead. When the Khajiit attacked Athay, they began by torching the harbor where Juris was readying his boat. Or should I say, my boat, since it was purchased with the gold I brought. By the time we were even aware of what was happening enough to flee, everything by the water was ash. The Khajiit may be animals, but they know how to range an attack. I think they followed us through the jungle to Vindisi, said Scotty nervously. There was definitely a group of something jumping along the treetops. Probably one of the monkey folk, snorted the Nord. Nothing to be concerned about. When we first came to Vindisi and the Bosmeri all entered that tree, they were furious, whispering something about unleashing an ancient terror on their enemies. The Breton shivered, remembering. They've been there ever since, for over a day and a half now. If you want something to be afraid of, that's the direction to look. The other Breton, who was a representative of the Daggerfall Mages Guild, was staring off into the darkness while his fellow provincial spoke. Maybe, but there's something in the jungle too, right on the edge of the village, looking in. More refugees, maybe? Asked Scotty, trying to keep the alarm out of his voice. Not unless they're traveling through the trees now, whispered the wizard. The Nord and one of the Cyrodiils grabbed a long tarp of wet leather and pulled it across the fire, instantly extinguishing it without so much as a sizzle. Now Scotty could see the intruders, their elliptical yellow eyes and long cruel blades catching the torchlight. He froze with fear, praying that he too was not so visible to them. He felt something bump against his back and gasped. Regulus's voice hissed from up above. Be quiet for Mara's sake and climb up here! Scotty grabbed hold of the knotted double vine that hung down from a tall tree at the edge of the dead campfire. He scrambled up it as quickly as he could, holding his breath lest any grunt of exertion escape him. At the top of the vine, high above the village, was an abandoned nest from some great bird in a trident-shaped branch. As soon as Scotty had pulled himself into the soft, fragrant straw, Regulus pulled up the vine. No one else was there, and when Scotty looked down, he could see no one below. No one, that is, except the Khajiit, slowly moving toward the glow of the temple tree. Thank you, whispered Scotty, deeply touched that a competitor had helped him. He turned away from the village and saw that the tree's upper branches brushed against the mossy rock walls that surrounded the valley below. How are you at climbing? You're mad, said Regulus under his breath. We should stay here until they leave. If they burn Vindisi like they did at Thay and Grinnis, we'll be dead sure as if we were on the ground. Scotty began the slow, careful climb up the tree, testing each branch. Can you see what they're doing? I really can't tell. Regulus stared down into the gloom. They're at the front of the temple. I think they also have, it looks like long robes trailing off behind them, off into the pass. Scotty crawled onto the strongest branch that pointed towards the wet, rocky face of the cliff. It was not a far jump at all, so close, in fact, that he could smell the moisture and feel the coolness of the stone. But it was a jump nonetheless, and in his history as a clerk, he had never before leapt from a tree 100 feet off the ground to a sheer rock. He pictured in his mind's eye the shadows that had pursued him through the jungle from the heights above, how their legs coiled to spring, how their arms snapped forward in an elegant fluid motion to grasp. He leapt. His hands grappled for rock, but long thick cords of moss were more accessible. He held hard, but when he tried to plant his feet forward, they slipped up skyward. For a few seconds he found himself upside down before he managed to pull himself into a more conventional position. There was a narrow outcropping jutting out of the cliff where he could stand and finally exhale. Reglius! 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 Scotty did not dare to call out. In a minute there was a shaking of branches, and Lord Vanek's man emerged. First his satchel, then his head, then the rest of him. Scotty started to whisper something, but Reglius shook his head violently and pointed downward. One of the Khajiiti was at the base of the tree, peering at the remains of the campfire. Reglius awkwardly tried to balance himself on the branch, but as strong as it was exceedingly difficult with only one free hand. Scotty cupped his palms and pointed at the satchel. It seemed to pain Reglius to let it out of his grasp, but he relented and tossed it to Scotty. There was a small, almost invisible hole in the bag, and when Scotty caught it, a single gold coin dropped out. It rang as it bounced against the rock wall on the descent, a high soft sound that seemed like the loudest alarm Scotty had ever heard. Then, many things happened very quickly. The Cathay rat at the base of the tree looked up and gave a loud wail. The other Khajiiti followed in chorus as the cat below crouched down and then sprung up into the lower branches. Reglius saw it below him, climbing up with impossible dexterity, and panicked. Even before he jumped, Scotty could tell that he was going to fall. With a cry, Reglius the clerk plunged to the ground, breaking his neck on impact. A flash of white fire erupted from every crevice of the temple, and the moan of the Besmeri prayer changed into something terrible and otherworldly. The climbing Cathay rat stopped and stared. "Kurgo," it gasped. "The Wild Hunt." It was as if a crack in reality had opened wide. A flood of horrific beasts, tentacled toads, insects of armor and spine, gelatinous serpents, vaporous beings with the faces of gods, all poured forth from the great hollow tree, blind with fury. They tore the Khajiiti in the front of the temple to pieces. All the other cats fled for the jungle, but as they did so, they began pulling on the ropes they carried. In a few seconds' time, the entire village of Vindisi was boiling with the lunatic apparitions of the Wild Hunt. Over the babbling, barking, howling horde, Scotty heard the Cyrodiils in hiding cry out as they were devoured. The Nor too was found and eaten, and both Bretons. The wizard had turned himself invisible, but the swarm did not rely on their sight. The tree the Cathay rat was in began to sway and rock from the impossible violence beneath it. Scotty looked at the Khajiiti's fear-struck eyes and held out one of the cords of moss. The cat's face showed its pitiful gratitude as it leapt for the vine. It didn't have time to entirely replace that expression when Scotty pulled back on the cord and watched it fall. The hunt consumed it to the bone before it struck the ground. Scotty's own jump to the next outcropping of rock was immeasurably more successful. From there, he pulled himself to the top of the cliff and was able to look down into the chaos that had been the village of Vindisi. The hunt's mass had grown and began to spill out through the pass, out of the valley, pursuing the fleeing Khajiiti. It was then that the madness truly began. In the moon's light, from Scotty's vantage, he could see where the Khajiiti had attached their ropes. With a thunderous boom, an avalanche of boulders poured over the pass. When the dust cleared, he saw that the valley had been sealed. The Wild Hunt had nowhere to turn but on itself. Scotty turned his head, unable to bear to look at the cannibalistic orgy. The night jungle stood before him, a web of wood. He slung Reglius' satchel over his shoulder and entered.